Hey guys, Grady's mom here with a cooking video for you. This is completely unplanned. I just kind of got the inspiration to film it. It's Sunday afternoon and I just had a little bit of, I guess you could call it downtime, where I didn't have any specific thing to be doing. So I decided what I wanted to do is make this dish for lunches for the week for both myself and my husband. Normally for lunches for the week, I wing it. So I usually end up having a sandwich, a can of soup, leftovers, something like that. But since I had a little bit of extra time, I wanted to just whip up this dish really quick to, again, use it as lunches for myself during the week, and then be able to give my husband a couple portions of this for his lunches during the week, since it happens to be a week where he'll be working in a scenario where he can actually use a microwave to heat it up. So it doesn't really have a specific name. It's just a dish with pasta and meat that I've made for years, and I've used all different variations of meat. Today I'm using beef. I've used ground sausage, ground turkey, and if you're a vegetarian, you can just leave out the meat completely. So I'm going to be using some elbow noodles, again, the ground beef. I'm going to be using the organic oven-dried Roma tomatoes. Now, these are optional. You can use fresh tomatoes, you could use sun-dried tomatoes, you could use tomato sauce. I am just choosing to use these this time because, as you can see, I have a whole bunch of them, a huge jar, and I just want to use some of them up where I can. Normally I would use just diced canned tomatoes or fresh tomatoes. I'm going to use some dried parsley, some garlic powder, although fresh garlic is fine too, some Worcestershire sauce, some beef broth to create sort of a moist sauce so it's not so dry. And then for vegetables, I've used every combination you can think of. I've used broccoli, green beans, just honestly, it's a good way to clean out your vegetable drawer. So I'm going to use some mushrooms that I have left from another recipe. I'm going to use a zucchini. I'm going to use a red pepper, a small green pepper from my garden, a yellow or white cooking onion, and then I'm going to use some shredded carrot. Again, you can use any combination of fresh vegetables that you have on hand. It's a great way to clean out your vegetable drawer. And also I'm going to use a handful, probably about 2 handfuls of frozen corn just to use it up, because I have this in my freezer. It was a big 2-pound bag, and if I can use a handful here and a handful there to get rid of it, I will, and corn is really good in this recipe as well. Another option too, if you're not going to use meat, if you're a vegetarian, then obviously you wouldn't use beef broth, you'd use vegetable broth. And a good substitute to make this more hearty if you're not using meat would be sweet potatoes, regular white potatoes, or beans. So something like kidney beans or white cannellini beans, or even chickpeas or lentils would be great as a substitute for the meat. So first thing I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to get this meat browning up in a large pan. While the meat is browning up, I'm going to multitask and get these veggies prepped for getting sauteed up as well. So again, meat is going in the pan, and I will show you guys how I prep the veggies. Okay guys, so I have my meat browning in this pan here, and I'm going to brown it, cook it all the way through, and then I'm going to drain it because I don't want any fat in here. I don't want any extra fat, so I'm going to drain the meat just in a regular pasta colander. This is almost done, and then all of the things that don't need to be prepped, I moved over next to my pan so I can kind of drop and work from here. Obviously the pasta has to be boiled separately in a pan, but I have everything else here waiting in the wings. And then I have my veggies getting prepped. I just have to do the onion, the green pepper, the carrots are already shredded, so those are good to go. And then the corn, obviously I just toss in a few handfuls, and tossing it in frozen is completely fine. So again, I'm just prepping my veggies, and I will show you what it looks like before we put them in the pan. Okay guys, ground beef is done, and I have it draining in the colander, so it's just hanging out here for a minute. In the same pan that I cooked the meat, as you can see, there's a tiny bit of the meat fat in here. That's fine because it's a very tiny bit. And then I have all my veggies ready. So I'm just going to go ahead now and get them right in the pan. I don't know if I can do this with one hand, but I'm going to try. I'm going to have to put the camera down. So I'm just going to put these in here, guys, and I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so I just poured all the veggies in the pan. I did not add any oil again because there was a little bit of the meat fat at the bottom. So I'm just going to kind of toss these around lightly, make sure they're spread out. And now I'm going to start with my salt and pepper. So we definitely need to salt them because veggies, raw veggies, really need salt to bring out the flavor. And we're gonna pepper them. And now I'm just simply gonna let them hang out for a couple minutes and kind of get working. And then I will show you guys how we add all of this stuff in. Okay guys, so I added in my handful of the frozen corn and then just a small handful of the shredded carrots. And then now I'm gonna start with, I already salt and peppered it. So now I'm gonna start with, if I can get it open, some Worcestershire sauce. And any brand of Worcestershire will do. It's gonna do, I don't know, a few nice glugs, and it gives it a really nice flavor, and it'll also give it a little bit of liquid in there. They're starting to cook down and soften up nicely already in just a couple minutes because we used that already hot pan, which if I can use the same pan for a couple different things, I will take it. And now I'm going to add in my garlic powder. Again, fresh garlic would be fine too. Just gonna do a couple nice shakes, and then parsley, a couple nice shakes. So you guys can even see that, kind of right there. And then just kind of work that in. I'm just gonna let this go for a few more minutes, and then next I'm going to add these tomatoes and then the broth. Okay guys, so almost 5 minutes have gone by. They're nice and soft. So I opened my jar of these tomatoes. I got these at Costco, by the way. Again, they're the oven dried Roma tomatoes. I've never seen anything exactly like this before, finding these at Costco, but they're sort of like a sun-dried tomato, but they're wet, if that makes any sense. Like they're moist, they're not dried. So I have a tablespoon here, and I'm gonna start with about 3 tablespoons, heaping tablespoons, if you will, and kind of eyeball it and see. There's a nice heaping one if I need more. And these are just packed in olive oil and seasonings. So I'm just going to spread these out and kind of take a look here. I think I'm going to do one more. Sorry, my lens is fogging up. Big scoop. So I have one more heaping little scoop like that. And let this work for a couple minutes. And then lastly, I'm just going to add in, I have my beef broth open. I'm going to add in a splash of that, add the meat back, and let it simmer. Okay guys, so a couple minutes have gone by. I did go ahead and add off camera 1 more tablespoon of the tomatoes. I really want to show you guys a close-up, but it's hard for me to get too close without the lens fogging up. But that is what it looks like. So I have my beef broth, and I'm just going to kind of eyeball a little bit here. That was probably about 1/3 cup. And like I've said before, you don't want to add too much. So I've just kind of added a splash, sort of stir it up a little bit. And I'm going to need more, but if you add too much, you can't take any out. Well, it's harder to take out. So I'm going to add another splash. I'm going to crank up the heat a little bit. It was on medium. I'm going to do like medium high, and then I'm going to add my meat right back on top of here. Okay guys, so the cooked meat that's been all drained out nice is back on top of the veggies. So now I want to combine everything. So I'm just going to use my spoon and work this all together. As you can see, this is a pretty large pan, and between there being a little bit over 1 pound of meat and probably over 1 pound of veggies, this makes a really nice, good sized pot. And when you add the pasta to it, I wanted to add as well, you can also do rice. Some people can't eat pasta or don't like pasta. You could do brown rice, you could do quinoa, you could do white rice, whatever you like, you know, if you didn't want to serve this over pasta. So I'm just going to work this all together. I have the heat on medium high, and then I'm just going to kind of let it come to like a really nice strong simmer, and then I'm going to turn it down to low and kind of just let it finish cooking. And then I'm going to portion it out, and I will have lunches for the week for myself. I'll probably get 3 solid days of lunches for myself, and then my husband will probably get 3 solid days of lunches for him. So it kind of works out really well, because then I don't get stuck in a rut of just having sandwiches or, you know, leftovers. It's just kind of nice to have a home cooked meal, if you will, for lunch. It's just kind of a nice treat. So with today being Sunday, definitely tomorrow I will have this. I'll put a little bit of Parmesan cheese on top when I heat it up, So this looks pretty well combined. I'm gonna let this kind of do its thing for a little while and finish cooking. And then I will show you what it looks like all plated up or portioned out. Okay guys, so we are done. I have my fully cooked pasta that I just finished draining. I did some elbows. Again, you could do brown rice, you could do white rice, you could do quinoa. I have my rice up here, and I always have a box of white and always have a box of brown. So that's another option. Again, you could do quinoa, you could do pretty much any sort of carb or pasta or rice that you like. And then I just have gotten out some of my meal prep kind of meal plan ahead, make ahead containers. And my kid's going crazy over here. So all I'm gonna do now is, everything is done. This is what it looks like, all finished. It tastes absolutely delicious. I may or may not have had a few spoonfuls, and it's so good. So all I'm gonna do now is, I have my 3 containers, and then I have my husband's larger containers. I have to finish hand washing the other 2 because he eats a lot more than I do. So all I do, and every Sunday, guys, I don't necessarily make a hot meal like this, but I always usually do some kind of meal prep on Sunday, either a batch of chicken salad, a batch of egg salad. A lot of times I'll boil up a dozen eggs and just have hard-boiled eggs on hand. Sometimes I'll get a rotisserie chicken and I'll just portion it out in pieces so I can make salads and stuff. So all I would do, particularly with a hot dish like this, is I just do some pasta on the bottom. I usually do, like, I don't know, a scoop and a half on the bottom. And I'm doing this all one-handed. I always say in my head that I wish I had somebody who could film this for me, because it would be much easier to have 2 hands free, but I'm doing the best that I can. So again, so I have my pasta like that, and just kind of even it all out. And then I'm gonna move these over so I don't drip all over my counter. And then I need a non-slotted spoon so the juice doesn't leak through, because there is a little bit of juice on the bottom, if you guys can see, and there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of that on the bottom too, to keep the pasta moist. Then I'm gonna go ahead and get my meat and veggies like this. And it's hard to tell on camera, but these containers are good size. It's enough for a portion. And a lot of times for lunch, particularly with these, I will just heat them up. I will put a little Parm cheese on top, and then I'll probably have some kind of fresh fruit. So I'll have like maybe a handful of grapes or a piece of watermelon or something for lunch with something to drink. And then that usually holds me over till dinner. So again, I want a little bit of that liquid in there because the pasta soaks it all up, and you don't want anything to be too dry. And right on top, like that. So here are my 3 meals. I don't want to get too close because it'll fog up. And I'll just let these cool off a little bit, and then I'll just put the lids on and have them stacked up in the fridge and ready to go for lunches for probably Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday type of thing. And then I'll be all out of it, but that's fine because by Wednesday I'll probably be sick of it. But at least I know Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday that I'll have a nice home-cooked meal for lunch, so there's no excuses, because I really get bored of sandwiches and you know, things like that, or kind of just snacking. Sometimes I don't even eat a real lunch. I'll just snack on a bunch of stuff, which just isn't healthy. And then I really thank myself, you know, on the days when I have something like this, a nice hot meal, and then again I'll just have a piece of fruit or something with it, or maybe like a yogurt, and it's just really nice to know that I don't have to worry about it. And then for my husband, he takes a bigger portion. This is like a Tupperware kind of thing, and then these are the lids. I have 3 of these. I just have to hand wash the other 2. So I will do the same thing here, but it'll be a bigger portion, and then all of this left over will be just enough to get 3 nice portions between the pasta and this. And then if I have a little bit of pasta left, I'll give it to Grady with a little butter and cheese. And maybe I'll even try a little bit of the meat, but he won't do the veggies. But anyways, the main point of this video is not only to share the recipe, but show you guys that it can be really easy if you get a little bit of time, particularly on a Sunday. I know Sundays sometimes can be, I guess, the most relaxing day for some people because, you know, your husband or your partner is home. And usually a lot of people don't work Sundays. So if you can find an hour on Sundays to do something like this, or your own version of this, and even maybe boil a dozen eggs or something like that, you will definitely thank yourself come Monday, because to have a nice hot meal like this and not have to worry about it really does pay off, and it's a lot more healthy, you know, than going out and getting fast food or something like that. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I will type up the recipe down below. I'm also going to type up some alternate versions, you know, with the measurements to make the same thing, but, you know, without meat or with a different kind of meat. Hope you guys enjoyed this little meal prep or meal recipe video. Obviously, you can make this as a dinner as well, but this is just something that I like to make for lunches. Hope you guys are all having a great weekend, and I will see you guys very soon in my next video. Bye, guys.